All right, well, I guess it's time to address all the sickos out there in the audience, Brian. We got to go to the AEW portion of the programming for all of the various people with odd habits and likes. Actually, this was September 24th. I can say that with confidence, and they were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I continue to have no idea what they think they're going to accomplish out of this. Because as soon as they do something, I'm looking at these notes, they shoot it down or spoil it in some fashion. And everything that they've... Adam Page is the world champion, right? And boy, that was their first mistake. But instead of treating him again like a world champion, he opens the program in a poorly microphoned backstage little promo where he is challenging the best wrestler in Pittsburgh. The world champion is issuing challenges. He said, come on out here and face me. You think you're somebody. And he gets Lee Moriarty for the world title. How many title shots against Steve Austin did Taka Michinoku get?
I don't recall any title shots.
What purpose to, and you know, we're not going to get to it yet because it wasn't first, but it's not spoiling anything that it took him 10 minutes or more to beat this fucking guy. What is their thought process behind having the world champion just, hey, come on out, anybody out there, Lee Moriarty, here's a shot at the world title, and he's a babyface. What? I could understand if it was a heel champion challenging job guys to get heat. Help me.
And he challenged the best wrestler in Pittsburgh, and from what I understand, Lee Moriarty was like seconds away from being tackled by Dominic DeNucci. So, I mean, who knows what could have happened here.
I'm surprised Britt Baker didn't come out and stretch him.
Well, I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but why not? It says something that Britt Baker was not here on this show.
Well, you don't think she's still in the wrestling business, do you? How long has it been since anybody's seen her? She's got a contract with a billionaire who will send a check to her house every week or every 2 weeks, whatever the pay period is. She never has to show up, go anywhere. He's obviously uncomfortable dealing with her, so he's put her on ice. And she can just sit there and make her money and do nothing.
No, I just saw something like a week ago. A bunch of listeners sent it over, and then it kind of died. But Dallas Page went on Twitter. So I think he did an interview with her, and she talked about, how hard she's working for everything. And Dallas Page put up something like, yo, Tony, she's ready, hit her up, whatever it was. It was basically him on behalf of her saying she's not being booked, but she wants to be booked. She's ready to be booked, but she's not being booked. And we know Tony keeps people off TV if he thinks they're going to WWE. We also know that there have been stories about Britt Baker having problems with lots of people there. So who knows what it is, but apparently she's ready to come back.
That's what she's telling him. That's why he doesn't want to see her. So she's ready to come back. Send her another check. Don't let her show up. But it's insane. I would love to get the inter-office payroll on whether there's more people being paid to come to work or paid to stay away.
Jericho's being paid right now too, isn't he?
Well,
so I mean, there's another guy. I mean, how many people are there in the company that are being paid? It's amazing how much money would be spent every week on people not being booked.
Well, let's talk about a few of the people that shouldn't have been booked. So the opening match on the show was for the tag team title. Bandito and Burger King defending against Ricochet's, what are they now? They're not the Gates of Agony anymore. They're the Demand, In Demand.
Well,
what are they?
I think the Demand may be lacking. No, the Demand may be the overall trio. They're now just GOA as opposed to Gates of Agony.
Well, it's Tia Leone and Bishop Khan. So correct me again if I'm wrong, but over the last 2 weeks, didn't they do a little program with the Hurt Syndicate to try to start getting these guys over? And I know these things blur, but I think they won at the pay-per-view, didn't they? The Ricochet and his felons here
I don't know if
beat the Hurt Syndicate.
I don't want to call anyone a felon, but him and his group, they beat the Hurt Syndicate. Yes.
So it was Saturday. They bring them out on TV the following Wednesday and beat them. What the fuck? The Hurt Syndicate just put these guys over on a pay-per-view. So now, okay, show that and then have them beat somebody and get some type of credibility, reputation on TV and talk about we want a tag title match and fucking maybe do something to old Bandito and his erstwhile partner that would piss them off and, well, we'll fight you. They just show up, wrestle for the tag team title, and get beat. They had a messy match. At one point, they tried to do 2 spots at the same time. 2 guys one place, 2 guys the other place. Camera missed both. Aubrey Ed was the referee who left the ring for absolutely no reason to just run and check on Brody King so that Ricochet could get in the ring with a chair. And then she slid back in the ring and caught him with the chair, drawing back to hit somebody. Pointed her finger at him, didn't disqualify him, kicked him out of ringside. He's in the ring with a chair. And the referee saw him.
And she wasn't afraid either. She jumped in front of the chair.
Yes. Because that was her spot to make where she could take that stance where she throws one leg out and butts her ass out and looks all authoritative. So the match continued after that and continued to be sloppy. And then Bandito beat him flat in the middle with a fucking German suplex. It took a while, but he beat him flat in the middle. So thank you for coming. What was the use of the Hurt Syndicate putting him over?
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If you're the Hurt Syndicate, if you're any veteran, if you're any wrestler, does that kind of thing upset you? The idea you put someone over on a pay-per-view or a big event, and then days later, they're just losing a match?
Yes. I mean, for no reason. Why would you not? Okay, these guys they're really fucking making waves. They just beat the Hurt Syndicate on pay-per-view. When's the last time you saw them lose? Oh, look, here they're beating fucking dipshit and his brother Tits, whoever. And Ricochet is talking. He is an annoying talker. They should be the world tag team champions. And then do something and then give them a title match when there's a meaning behind it. They've done something to the champions and advertise it ahead of time. Imagine that. Or just bring them TV Wednesday and let's beat them. All right. Are you ready for the world title match with Hangman, Adam Page, and Lee Moriarty?
Oh boy, am I.
Now Lee Moriarty is coming out to the ring wearing a lucha mask. Is this all a rib where they just get to dress up in the costumes they can afford to buy? And again, as I mentioned at the top of the program, or talking about at the top of the program when Page issued the challenge, it's a babyface match with the world champion against Nobody Jones that the world champion asked for no reason. Nobody gives the world champion all he can handle for over 10 minutes. And then this was their finish. Lee Moriarty got a submission hold, then got a 2 count on Page, then got another submission hold, then foiled a dead eye, and then Page hit him with a clothesline and a dead eye and beat him 1, 2, 3. What the who does these finishes? Did I miss any little minute details that would have elevated this to the next level, Brian, or was that pretty much what happened?
Do you think this match elevated Lee Moriarty at all, even in a loss?
Well, no, because we're not ever going to see him again for another 6 months on this show. And the next time we see him, he probably is not going to win anyway. And he's, I guess, been in Ring of Honor, which they still do somewhere for something. And what? No. It just makes Paige look further like one of the fucking boys. And he don't need any help with that. He's as bland and as blend into the fucking scenery as you can be to be a world champion. Did you hear the rumors that Edge started, Brian, with his promo on this program when what he told Christian?
I believe I know what you're talking about. Yes.
The footage is in the locker room after All Out. They're trying to get a word with Edge, and he's all broke up over what happened to Beth. You remember Beth Phoenix got spike pile driven by FTR. And one would think that that would break a husband up to have his wife the victim of a spike pile driver. So he's all upset, and he goes in the locker room, and he's telling Christian, I can't do this anymore. It's my family. This is just too much. And he's throwing his shit in his bag, and Christian's like, what the fuck? I'm going home. I don't know if I'm coming back. I can't do this to my family anymore. I love you, man. See you later. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's taking another vacation. They say now he's shooting a television series somewhere. So he's going to be off. They just spike pile drove his wife. They've just shot a hot angle. And the guy that's instrumental in the whole thing is going to take time off to shoot a TV show. Then why did they spike pile drive his fucking wife? But the rumors that got started were that the people were actually saying that Tony Khan had let Edge agreed to let Edge go and wrestle John Cena on one of Cena's retirement matches because of their tremendous rivalry. And people actually bought this and started repeating it, which is another case of what the fuck are people thinking? Although, to be fair, with some of the decisions Tony Khan has made, you never know. But it was because Edge did the tribute to Cena at the pay-per-view and got the people to chant Cena on the AEW pay-per-view. And because they'd had a rivalry, it was just too coincidental, Brian. That's where Edge is going. He's leaving. He's going back to WWE to wrestle Cena. What the fuck? I hate to be the one to shoot those rumors down. Well, you shoot at them a little while.
Well, that would be the only thing worse than my wife got hurt. I have to leave. I'm going to quit wrestling. And then word gets out right away that he's going to film a show and everyone knows it. And then however long a period of time, he comes back to try to heat up something that needs the heat now. So I don't know how that's going to work. And I think that's a little less likely than he's going to go. Can you imagine how bad that would be if he came back to team with Christian? Hey, I thought you were leaving for a while. Oh, I had to go do something. And that something would be wrestle under a different name in the bigger company to lose to John Cena? Because they're not I guarantee you may be surprised by who Cena puts over this last year. He ain't putting over Edge if Edge doesn't work there.
No.
But again, like you said, I know they were in their hometown. That's what they were waiting for the FTR match for. They should have waited for them to team for that, but they did that at the previous pay-per-view. Having Beth come out, they thought that was going to be a big moment. They did the big angle. Does this help or hurt the angle?
And no, it kills the angle. You can't follow up on that. You can't reheat 6-week-old meatloaf and have it anything other than dry. If they were going to do an angle of pile driving Edge's wife, then Edge needs to be in the picture on a weekly basis for television and leading up to the next pay-per-view, because in 3 months or whatever it is, they ain't going to give a shit. If they give a shit now in the middle of all this other chaos if it did stand out, it won't in 3 months. The bloom is off the rose. You can't get the lightning back in the bottle. Even hot angles between top talent in successful territories have in the past almost exclusively gone cold when something happened, an injury or something to take it away, and they tried to revisit it later and they couldn't. It was too late. Pepper Gomez and Ray Stevens were still successful after the big match, but not as successful as they had been after the Stevens had the wreck, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So when they're trying to find something that actually works for people to care about the match and the people in it instead of the stunt show and who's going to get hospitalized, you can't just do this and then, oh, well, boy, in 3 months when he comes back, he's really going to surprise everybody. Brian, if somebody spike pile drives your wife, are you going to go home and sit with her for 3 months, or are you going to come back next week with a stick and try to find the guy?
Yeah, I think you would try to do something. Not, I'm going to give up on everything and just go home. And by the way, we're talking about how this screws up the angle. Now you got to do something different with FTR in the meantime, as opposed to having some sort of interaction on a weekly basis with Edge and Christian.
Well, one would think that they would keep FTR as strong as possible in order to be a force to be reckoned with and somewhat of a heat-getting entity when Edge comes back, but no. Because now FTR's fate is to get back in the kiddie pool. The very next segment, there's Tony Schiavone in the ring with FTR and Stokely. And they gave the heel apologies for what happened to Beth. It was all a mistake. It was Edge's fault. Stokely forgave Beth for what she did to him. You know, Cash or Dax said I was blind with sweat. I got punched in my bad nose. I couldn't see it was Beth. Cash can talk if he has any material. Stokely can talk even if he doesn't have any material. He can just bullshit. But if he had a decent issue and some credibility as a manager, you could get something. And Dax, he can talk, but I don't know if he can talk as good as Cash now because I think I'm tired of hearing Dax. But they got nothing to talk about that makes any sense. And they've never gone on a reign of terror for the things that they say to have any gravitas. And then suddenly, after they're cutting this promo about how, you know, they're sorry about disingenuously sorry and fake apologizing, Willow Nightingale comes out. So Willow Nightingale, a bouncy, peppy woman, gets in the ring with these 3 male heels and proceeds to just tell them the fuck way it's going to be. I look up to Beth Phoenix. She inspired me to be a wrestler. And I don't like the way that you guys are talking, so you need to apologize and mean it or get the heck out of my ring. What the if they had any heat, it was gone with a little preliminary girl just bopping in the ring and telling him off. And then she slapped Stokely. And before FTR get a hold of her, here comes Hong Kong Phooey and Kevin Knight. They hit the ring and they bump FTR out of the ring. So they're in a program with Edge and Christian. Regardless of their age, legitimate stars in the wrestling industry. They've just spike pile driven Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix. And now not only is Edge going home, and one of the girl wrestlers is not scared enough of them to not even get in the ring and tell them off to their face. And then Kevin Knight, and without a doubt, the most physically unintimidating nerdish, goofy-looking male professional wrestler that has ever stepped a bare toe in a fucking ring jump in the ring and beat him up. What the fuck are they doing? They can't follow anything from one week to the other. They can't expound on anything. They do something and then derail themselves days later. So that's where FTR are now. RR now.
And again, the road to the match with Christian and Edge
was muddy.
They had some kind of interaction. I still don't even know who that guy was. I guess he was a Ring of Honor wrestler. Remember, they had some kind of thing with him in the ring, and then they actually had a promo segment in the back. And then we never saw that guy again. And then they had their feud with the fans.
And then beat up a cameraman.
But I think the fans won that feud. You know, I don't think the fans lost. And then they had the match with Edge and Christian, did the big angle, and the follow-up was to get beat up by Speedball, Kevin Knight, and Willow Nightingale being as afraid of them as the fans were.
I just want to make sure I got that all right. So that's exactly the way it should have happened.
You know, we always said about FTR, they were so talented in the ring, and they are. You can never take that away. But they never really had the angles or the promos or anything that like the classic tag teams did. It's a different era. Wrestling's a different kind of TV show now. But there was not like some big hot angle with FTR doing something. You can close your eyes, and it may not even be a big angle, but you can close your eyes and just picture Arn and Tully, for instance, or the Midnight Express, for instance, just doing things to get heat. You don't have that.
Bockwinkel and Stevens, for instance.
You don't have that with FTR. Like, if you think of them, you think of these matches that are great. You never think like, they got the fans really going by doing this or this or this. The fans kind of treat them the wrong way. And then they do a hot angle. And Tony Khan can never book the next step after something good that happens.
Well, there's the rivalry that they're most known for was against the Briscoe brothers, and those matches all occurred outside of AEW. And it was a great trilogy, but there were still no great angles to augment it and to add to the fucking memory of the whole rivalry because they didn't have a television program and a promotion that they were working in. AEW couldn't put them on TV then because of whatever those reasons were. So point being, they had 3 great matches with the Briscoes and no great memorable angles or interviews because there was almost nothing on television. I'm sure they probably did some stuff for YouTube.
Well, yeah, they did the face-to-face, I remember, with, I forget the guy's name, the commentator there. They did that, but it was all like under the thing, like, we're all friends, we want to wrestle again. Like, it wasn't an angle. It was kind of just like a series of little promos.
But there hasn't even been another series with any other tag team. I mean, the Young Bucks, you can't, seriously take that as a great series because you had FTR working with children that they had to do their shit, and that kind of took the matches down. But there was no heat to it. And the Bucks pushed out of putting them over when the time was right that they could have meant something at the gate. FTR, that is. Bucks never meant anything at the gate. But they could have put FTR over 2 at one point, and they didn't. Because they were jealous that most people who knew what the fuck they were talking about knew that FTR was the better team. So here we are with them getting beat up by everybody. At least they whipped the cameraman.
Willow Nightingale's so likable. I was rooting for her in this. I was hoping she would like double clothesline them. I just run past both of them and clothesline.
I'm surprised she didn't.
She should have.
She could probably do it and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
As soon as she came out there, I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to do another angle with a woman. It's both shows now. It's like just constantly guys and women getting into physicality. Why?
Well, this was the woman to come back and get even. Again, they got the heat. Spike Pile and Beth, and Willow comes out, beats up Stokely. The 2 other little fucking Nimrods come out and beat up FTR. Edge is fine. They got even for him. What the? Can you imagine what Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson would have done if we fucking hospitalized one of their wives on a pay-per-view and fucking mistreated them. And the next week, Ricky and Robert weren't in the ring with us, but the New Breed came out and beat the shit out of the Midnight Express. Ricky and Robert would have taken a goddamn assault rifle to fucking Crockett's office.
You thought it was bad enough having the Gates of Agony beat the Hurt Syndicate and then come back the next week and lose right away. And then they do this. It's every segment. The follow-up from the pay-per-view into every segment is awful.
Well, speaking of following up and going home, and where the fuck is this going? MJF was in the back of the building in a pre-tape after the pay-per-view, where he usually does, again, great interviews to just get him on television, just put his face on there. That's all they care about. He was going over all the shitty things that have been done to him since Adam Cole ruined his life. Where did Adam go? I just thought of that. Is he still around?
Well, remember he did that promo announcing that he had to leave and he got very tearful and then the fans got very tearful. It was a really sad thing about how everyone presumed he probably is going to retire because we've all felt uncomfortable watching him wrestle for a while.
Well, I forgot about that.
That was the last time we saw him.
Well, shit. Well, maybe he can come back and announce. There's some openings at that position. But anyway, MJF said he's made mistakes, he's not himself, and he can't come back until basically he gets his shit together again. And that when he comes back, he's not going to be playing MJF. He's going to be dangerous again. This was, I did this interview in 1989. And it aired on TBS when the Midnight Express and I legitimately quit WCW because of the way George Scott had booked us. And we left for a couple months so people could get the bad taste out of their mouth and forget how many jobs we'd done. Is this him acknowledging the shitty booking that he's been victimized by in the same way? Or is this the promos Lawler used to do when people would get tired of him being a babyface because they wanted to see him throw fire and pile drive people and fuck up all the heels like the old? So he'd say, well, the old king is going to be back this week. And that meant he was going to cheat. Or does this just mean that Max is going home again until they make him do something else in the middle of this fucking whirlpool of effluvia?
Well, again, it also came out a couple weeks ago that he was cast in another movie, so maybe there were other things, but, this is coming off the segment where Edge announced he's going home. With MJF, it would be a good thing. If they really are going to bring him back, more serious, not doing the same stuff, not reacting the same way, maybe more of what we saw in Mexico.
Not having to try so hard in his promos to inject life into a dead opponent that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and by the way, everything he does, Christian Cage steals. The whole thing with him making fun of people's families, everything. Then Christian comes and does that. He did the whole "I'm your scumbag" thing, or "You're my scumbag." The fans would chant. Now Christian's doing "You're my asshole."
Well, you got to admit, Christian does look more like a puckered sphincter than a used condom.
We just saw MJF have one of the best, if not the best, matches of the year in Mexico, coming off a run where he's been a dynamic heel in Mexico, and at the same time, kind of pussyfooting in AEW. Keep him off TV for a while if you're going to do it. And bring him back big. Have him fucking cash in and fucking win the title from Adam Page.
I don't think you can't cash in anymore unless you give him a week's notice and a fucking insurance bond.
There's got to be a way around it. There's got to be a logical way around it, and they don't use logic.
How can you make an impact here? He made an impact in Mexico by getting juice on the fucking opponent, Mystico, the babyface, and tearing his mask. How could on this show the flamethrower doesn't hurt anybody? How can he come back and make an impact? What can you do on this show that is so shocking and disturbing to anybody that they haven't seen that would register that, oh my God, I got to see more of this? What?
Comes back, cashes in, beats Adam Page, wins the belt. Surprise. Then, you know what? He doesn't cash in. He somehow gets that match, wins the belt, big surprise, serious MJF, not a 30-minute back and forth. Next week, cashes in, wins the women's title. Merges them as one. Now we don't have to say men's or women's world champion. There is just one world champion again.
The AEW Human World Champion.
The human champion. There we go. Now we got something. Heavyweight human champion.
I don't know if we ought to put heavyweight in, because then that might insult the ladies.
I just feel like World Heavyweight Championship is the way to say it. That's the way.
Well, of course, it's the way to say it. And it used to be descriptive of the fucking grown men that were fighting for it. But nevertheless, and MJF's, he's a giant. He's Luger compared to this fucking crowd these days. But nevertheless, let's continue. They had a 6-man tag, but they had to do the comedy bit at the start to introduce it. It's got Don Fallis's collection of Chia and Take a Shit and Oblada. They're going to team up again against Mark Briscoe and his mystery partners that he picked to be Hologram and a returning favorite, because Don was going to have this big ceremony before they start the match where he unveiled his newest painting, because he's got all the cheesy paintings of him and his guys, etc. And they unveil the thing, and basically it's a comedy introduction of our little puppy Pockets has returned to television. It's been so, I'd forgotten about him. It's been so nice that we haven't had to look at that joke that stopped being funny in 2019. So now we've got Briscoe, Pockets, and Hologram against the 3 members of the top heel stable by the top manager, allegedly. Think about this now, Brian. If Edge is going and MJF's going to be out for a little while, they've lost Ospreay to injury, Swerve to injury. Another few people have departed in recent weeks for a variety of issues, but Pockets is back. It's their own fault. You have to laugh. The crew from year one is almost all back together. Year one, when they had 1 million viewers. The problem is the crew they had in year one is the reason why they have 500,000 viewers now. We're getting more bucks. We're getting more holograms. We're getting more Pockets. We're getting more outlaw Japanese girls. We're getting more nameless, faceless luchadors. And all the stars are either being repaired or going to try to investigate a new line of work. So anyway, did you watch any of this?
I mean, I watched the show, and I watched this. The intro was ridiculous. Not only was it the whole painting thing, but the fact that Don Callis now says he makes the paintings. He said that all the paintings we've seen in the past, because this is something that we needed more follow-up on, he's made them. And then they wheel out this thing that it was like a painting, but how many paintings have a space right behind them to fit a human being? Just a big box.
Well, anybody that comes out of a box is over. Tony knows that.
Well, I guess that's why Tony did it, but it looked ridiculous. And again, we're back to where we were. Whether it's the Jurassic Express, whether it's MJF and Edge off the show, the return of Orange Cassidy, we're back to where we were. And
now, wait a minute. We haven't fucked up Kyle Felcher yet. See, that's very important. We got to do that because we gained some ground on the pay-per-view. We got to lose it here on the free television program. They had the 6-man. The finishing sequence looked like, I swear to God, like Hologram and Chichia were drunk and trying to square dance, doing something or other. And then Hologram beat old Hechichia. So the masked midget beat the top heel group clean in the middle. And then they played music. And Kyle came out. And he started talking, and he sounds like Christopher Robin when he's talking to Winnie the Pooh. I can't. He's got a manager. Useless manager, but a manager. But he is out there. And he said, I'm a future men's world champion. Men's world champion. Again, that phrasing. I'm not sure with that voice and the pink suit he was wearing whether people may be able to figure out which one he's going for, but it's goddamn ridiculous. And now he who just wrestled for the world title in the main event of the pay-per-view, and even though he didn't win, if you're going by their logic, he went 40 minutes with the champions. So that's supposed to got him over to some degree. He challenged Hologram. I understand you've got the longest undefeated streak in AEW history. If that's true, think about that. Hologram has the longest undefeated streak in AEW history. What the fuck is all of this? So the challenger from over the weekend for the world title, the top guy in the top heel stable, comes out and challenges a job guy, except in name only since he never does jobs, but a guy that nobody gives a shit about that we never see and is half this fucking Kyle's size. Kyle is challenging him to a title versus streak match for Kyle's TNT title. I'll put my championship that means a lot to me, that's a major title in the company, on the line for no reason against you who are meaningless. What the fuck is this logic?
I don't think it is logic. Other than Hologram being a Tony Khan favorite because he created the gimmick, I don't understand any of this. This is the follow-up to him losing to Adam Page in a very long competitive match.
Yes, and now I bet you he's going to beat Hologram in a very long competitive match. And if you want the wrestling fans to take anybody seriously as a main event world title level fucking person, and they don't beat Hologram in 7 minutes, you've just shot yourself in the fucking foot to begin with. And that's only as a TV squash match, not something that is challenged for by the star, that is for the TNT title, if you want the title to be important. The fucking hell. All righty. You know what else I didn't watch, but I saw enough? Claudio Castagnoli versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Brian, do you remember how they started this match out? You might not have counted. I had to go back and keep track. Do you remember?
Yes, they started this match by chasing me out of the room. I didn't watch it.
They rang the bell, and they proceeded to exchange 48 punches and forearms to each other. Most of them looked weak. Some of them didn't connect at all. But neither guy took a bump or even went to a knee. Now, I'm not saying it was 48 like one at a time. Sometimes one of the guys would throw 3 or 4 in a row, and then the other guy would but 48 fucking punches and forearms, flat-footed in the middle of the ring, no bump, didn't go to a knee. And then the clothesline worked. So, after 10 minutes, guess who came out? He's back. Pac's back. Distracted Hobbs and Claudio rolled him up 1, 2, 3. And then Samoa Joe chased Pac off. But Yuta and Garcia and Pac, who came back, and Claudio beat up Joe and Hobbs. And then Page came out and cleared the ring and the heels left. What's a...
And they said Shibata had been hurt, I believe, at some point here, which, who knows? It could be a brain injury.
Well, we're sincerely hoping that they get his brain back to him good as new anytime now. So the heels win, then the babyface may come back, then the heels get heat, then the babyface may come back in the same fucking segment. Then it was time for Tony Khan's big announcement. It's been a while. He hasn't had the big announcement in quite some time since he started doing it so often that the people basically started shitting all over it because it's a big announcement. I had Cheerios for breakfast. But he made this one and he never blinked once. He's back to reading the teleprompter so he can't go off the reservation and just get mired down in shit like he did when he tried to do it off top of his head. But he won't blink. It's like, it's that fucking goofsnack, Kash Patel. Have you seen the picture of the FBI director in this shit show over here? Kash Patel looking like he's got that glandular disease that makes your eyeballs pop out of your head.
You know, until you see someone not blink for a while, you never realize how much
people blink.
Yeah, but like, I got fixated on him. I'm like, all right, he has to blink at some point now. He's just not blinking. He's still going.
Because you don't really notice people blinking when they're blinking because everybody blinks.
It's a natural thing. Just like the gardener behind me. Motherfucker. They were supposed to be here yesterday. But anyway.
Well, they blinked. But when you don't blink, it's obvious.
It was also the return of, thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. I'm a real boy.
That's a real lawnmower back there.
Can you hear that?
Anyway,
there's
I can hear
selling that today.
So the announcement, the major announcement, the big reveal, they're instituting girls tag team titles. And then they went to ringside and unveiled the new belts that look like all the other belts they have. This is a big deal to Tony. New belts. Look at how cool the new belts are. They've got 3 girls individual champions. Why does it? And now the girls tag team titles on top of the AEW men's world title and the unified title and the TNT title and the fucking, what's the other goddamn title?
Man, just today, the wrestling news, I was looking at the report when the show went up, and I read this line and I laughed because I didn't realize it. And again, I apologize for the noise. But what was on Ring of Honor last night? Mina Shirakawa successfully defended the ROH Interim Women's World Television Championship.
Oh. ROH Interim Women's TV Championship.
Yeah, that's too many belts.
Well, anyway, speaking of the women and their belts, for the women's world title, and I swear to again, they have taken their title for whatever good it does off of Toni Storm, the female star, singular, not plural, that they have on the roster. And I'm not slandering Chris Statlander. I wish they'd have done something with her 5 years ago. But now she won it in a 4-way, and now she defends against Mina Mellons, who's come back for no apparent reason. And that's the main event of the show. Now, I knew that they were going to do something goofy at the end because they always do when they have almost nobody watching. So I said, I'll just stop the DVR here when this match starts and I'll go to where I taped the overrun because they're going to have the girls go 2 minutes over and then do something stupid. And they did. The girls went another couple minutes. And then here came Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman. And by the way, Dick is not burned or even blistered after Darby put him in the body bag at the pay-per-view and set him on fire. Those body bags must be really, I thought they outlawed asbestos. What are they making those things out of? So they all come to the ring, and old Wheeler Useless hugs Statlander and raises her hand And then she clotheslined him. And Marina Schaefer ran at Statlander. Statlander ducked and rolled out of the ring, or flipped off Moxley and rolled out of the ring and left and went through the people. So there is Moxley and Schaefer and the rest of his stooges standing there in an empty ring. And then Darby Allin comes out with a flamethrower. And he's advancing with the flamethrower on the heels. He's not shooting it close enough to actually get him, but he's not rushing, and they're not really running. They're just backing up. As a matter of fact, Moxley is backpedaling away at a slow pace, but tripped and fell down over the ring stairs, trying to walk backwards. And then the heels just left, and Darby got up on the turnbuckle and fired off his flamethrower a little bit and challenged Moxley for an I Quit match at the next pay-per-view. Because, the coffin match is just to set things up, Brian. That's not really any kind of feud decider or anything. This is the biggest goddamn clown show I've ever seen, where a bunch of immature, unprofessional nitwits just get to go out and do things they think are cool in their play acting. Like MJF is the only one that I can see that is thinking about this as a business and how to get over, rather than a fucking play where they get to wear cool costumes. Am I being too harsh over the flamethrower?
I think Darby may have used something like that before. We've seen fire used in all sorts of different ways. Remember Eddie Kingston?
He said he was the one that set Jack Perry on fire, wasn't he?
I thought that was CM Punk. I don't know. I don't know who set him on fire. But
no, he just choked his britches full.
That was AEW Dynamite, a great follow-up to the pay-per-view. Get well soon, Wardlow. What else do we have to say to anyone else listening? MJF, enjoy your time off. Cope, I hope it's something good and worthwhile. And,
Swerve, Osprey.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Kenny.
Kenny.
Kenny's hanging by a thread. He needs more nursemaids at his place of residence to bring him back to life.
Before the end of the year, you and I should bet each other on how many matches he'll have in 2026.
Do you want me to do wishful thinking or what I really believe?
Well, actually, it may be the year that they coincide, that they conflict, that they hit each other. Whatever the word is I'm looking for.
Wishful thinking would be 0. Prediction will be 3. How's that?
3 matches altogether. Well, we'll see what happens. But that was AEW Dynamite.
It certainly was. And before we talk about anybody, whether they watched this thing or not, just briefly and over the lawnmowers, Brian, tell us what the hell's going on in the Arcadian Vanguard world.
Oh, you know what that means, Jim? We've zapped the Gardeners, and they have disappeared to the ether. Gone for hopefully another week. Maybe they'll come back on the day they're supposed to next time. But Jim, another fine week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.
Yes.
Get information about all the shows on Twitter, at Superpodcast, or on Facebook, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Of course, each and every day, get the wrestling news for free. Your morning wrestling newscast from the Wrestling News, directly from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news.
No flamethrowers.
No flamethrowers, well, except in the report, I guess. But want to make mention of Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, the finest in classic wrestling conversations. Listen to it today and go through the archive. Hearing from a lot of listeners who are really starting to listen to the archive. SUAWpod.com, or look for Shut Up and Wrestle with Brian Solomon, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! Go through the archive, 605pod.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast, The Mothership.
Did you disturb Swami with that, by the way?
Now, he's used to it. He's gotten quite used to the weird sounds coming from in here.
used to daddy screaming. All righty then.
Well, Jim, with that,
Yes.
let's go to the glorious ratings that are the AEW Dynamite ratings. I don't know why I call them glorious, but let's go to those.
It was only 2 hours this week.
It was only 2 hours. Thank heavens. But here they are, Jim. AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, 8 to 10:08 p.m. on TBS. On average, watched by 638,000 viewers.
So, what was last week?
667.
Okay, I keep thinking that it's the same thing every week, but it's basically the same thing every week, except for 3 weeks ago when they completely fell in a hole. But they're preaching to the choir here. They got another 600,000 people. Joy to the world for them.
This is down 4% from last week, which was 667, up 11% off the 4-week average of 577. Well, Jim, let's go to the quarter-hour breakdowns. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m., the Adam Page Backstage Promo Challenge, and the start of Brodito versus GOA with picture-in-picture, 695,000 viewers.
So that is neither a large opening number or as small as some of them have been lately, but by the average, that means they won't lose quite as much through the course of the program.
We got a quarter 2, Brodito versus GOA continued. Oh, by the way, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The Conglomeration Paragon Backstage Promo, an ad break, and the Chris Statlander Harley Cameron Backstage Promo, 617,000 viewers.
Ouch. They still managed to drop 78,000, but again, is it surprising given the people came, checked out what they were seeing, and said, eh.
Well, we got a quarter 3, more 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., Adam Page versus Lee Moriarty, picture-in-picture, the Cope Christian Cage backstage angle, and an ad break, 616,000 viewers. Low point in the key demo, 160,000.
Well, at least they kept what they had in quarter 2. They only lost 1,000 people. That's negligible. So they've stabilized themselves.
Well, Jim, we go to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m., the FTR Stokely Hathaway Willow Nightingale Jet Speed live angle, and the MJF backstage promo, 638,000 viewers.
Boy, that's a gift. An extra 22,000 people for that. That's their show average. So they've stayed in the sixes all through the first hour. Will they pick up a few at the top of the 9 o'clock hour?
Well, we'll find out right now. The big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m., quarter 5. The Don Callis live promo.
Ooh.
The Don Callis family versus the Conglomeration, featuring the return of Orange Cassidy with picture-in-picture.
Oh, good God.
654,000 viewers.
Well, they managed to get 16,000. Again, maybe they should have done this all along. We used to make fun of them for losing 200, 300,000 people during the course of the show. Maybe they should have just started all those shows with 200,000 or 300,000 less, and then they'd have kept their audience.
Well, we'll see what they keep here. We got a quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. Continuation of Callis family versus Conglomeration. The post-match with Kyle Fletcher. Mina Shirakawa's backstage promo. An ad break. The Jurassic Express video. And the start of Claudio Castagnoli versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
This ain't looking good.
648,000 viewers.
Well, they only lost 6,000. That's a gift, but now I have a feeling the things ain't going to be so bright from here on out, because they've got to go down from here to, again, achieve their average. And Mina Mellons is in the main event, so there you go.
And she's fine. We go to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. the continuation of Claudio versus Hobbs, the post-match with the Death Riders and Samoa Joe and Adam Page, and an ad break. 618,000 viewers.
Yeah, there we go. We're back down to, well, it's not the low point. They did 617 and 616 earlier.
Well, we get to the end here. We go to quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. A reminder, an 8-minute overrun. Tony Khan's big announcement, Renee Paquette's live promo, and the start of Chris Statlander versus Mina Shirakawa with picture-in-picture. 606,000 viewers.
They stayed over 600,000 for that.
8-minute overrun.
Bravo.
8-minute overrun continuation of Mina versus Statlander, and the post-match with the Death Riders, Harley Cameron, and Darby Allin and a flamethrower. 654,000 viewers.
Okay, so something happened there at the end. They put, what's the show that follows it?
Impractical Jokers?
No, they put some other show on this week I can't remember what it was, but because usually they've been dropping on the overrun with Impractical Jokers. Well, they got a gift there at the end, but I'm astonished. I must say, bravo AEW that you could keep that consistent of a number for that mess of a show without losing the majority as they usually do. That's very heartening for them. But the problem is they're still keeping less people because they're starting with less people.
Yeah, and you brought it up before. We used to talk about them just a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. It would start around 8, end up in the 6s. And there would be that big drop, like 200,000 people, 150,000 people. Seems like they're all gone now. And it's just there's a steady base in the range of 620, maybe, that are there to check out what's there, unless there's something else cooler on TV, like a Little League World Series or something. But the idea that it's kind of landed here, and we're supposed to believe that all these people are watching on Max, TV executives I know don't believe it. I don't believe it either.
Besides that, these drops came before the Max deal even happened. They weren't at 1 million anymore. They weren't at 900 anymore. They weren't at 800 anymore. I don't know that they were at 7 consistently. So then the idea that suddenly 300,000 people would say, oh shit, they're on TBS. We haven't given a shit, but now they're on Max. We got to watch. No. But again, they have solidified their base, but the people that were on the fence that may have given the show a chance for the first 15 or 30 minutes years ago, and that lasted for quite a while, they've just said, fuck it. So there's where we're at.